Hi, my name is Eloise, and today I'm going to talk about whether studying law in the UK is worth it. I study law at Cambridge University. I'm a former corporate lawyer, and I'm now an author and a writer. And I've been helping students for over 10 years achieve their university ambitions. So one question that a lot of people have, especially if you're an international student that already has a good law degree in your home country, is studying law in the UK really worth it? Like, is it worth the extra cost? Is it worth moving away from your friends and your family? Is the law degree actually worth it? And I really think the answer is, it depends. I know that was a very legal answer, so every lawyer watching this or prospective law student will know that it depends is nearly always the answer to a question. But it really does depend on what you actually want to get out of the process. Like, what are your goals in the admissions process? And what do you want to get out of your law degree? And the answer will be different for everyone. So I'd split that into 3 questions. Number 1, what do you want to get out of your university experience? Is it a career in law? Is it a great degree title? Is it a stepping stone to doing something else? Is it something that you can then take back to your home country and explore further in another legal system? Number 2, what kind of university experience do you want to have? We'll talk a little bit about the UK university system, but obviously that might be a different experience to how university is set up, or the living arrangements, or the environment, or the culture in your home country or in another country. And number 3, what are your priorities in choosing where to live? So ultimately, these decisions really come down to where you're going to spend your time. And the law degree in the UK is typically 3 years long. So it's not a huge commitment. It's not like 6 or 7 years, but it is a significant amount of time. And you obviously want to be happy and comfortable in the place where you choose to study. Studying law in the UK can be a little confusing when it comes to comparing it to other legal systems, because studying law in the UK is generally an academic degree, which means that it teaches the study of law, the academic study of law. You're figuring out what the law is, where it comes from, how it's evolving, how it's applied, but you're not necessarily applying it in practical reality for yourself. In other words, studying a law degree doesn't necessarily set you on the track to being a lawyer, either a solicitor or a barrister in the UK system. Studying law in the UK is a little bit confusing when you look at other legal systems and how they train their lawyers, because studying law in the UK is an academic discipline, which means that it doesn't inevitably lead to a career as a lawyer, either as a barrister or a solicitor in England and Wales. So in order to qualify as a lawyer, you then go on and take some further training, which prepares you for practical application of law in reality. But the law degree is really addressing questions like, where does law come from? How does this law apply? How is it evolving? What are the sources for these laws? And how is law made? So in terms of who would be well suited to a law degree in the UK, it will really be someone who is interested in the academic pursuit of law. So this means you need to have a curiosity, a genuine sense of interest in the law and its evolution. And you need to be prepared to spend a long time figuring out how the law works and the different aspects of law in its theoretical sense. In terms of the actual practicalities of applying as an international student, you would generally be using the same process as a UK student. So you'll be using UCAS, which is the UK's application portal, and you'll also be doing things like a personal statement, references, and taking the LNAT where appropriate. The LNAT is offered across the world, so you will be able to find a test centre that is local to you. International students will generally need a UK visa to live and study here, and you can apply for that visa online. In terms of fees, you will probably be aware that most UK publicly funded institutions offer 2 levels of fees, a home fee and an overseas fee, and the international student fees are normally higher than the home fees. This will depend on your particular circumstances and where you're applying to, so it is worth checking out the specific guidance that is available online. In terms of the quality of the education in the UK, most law degrees will offer you a fantastic start to your career, whatever you decide to do after your degree. And they will also give you an incredible insight into the workings of the justice system and a good grounding in the application of law, both practically and theoretically. Obviously, some universities will have a higher academic reputation than others, and this really depends on a wide variety of factors, including the history and background of the university, the funding available to the university, the style of teaching, whether it's small groups or bigger groups, the faculty members and their research specialisms, and much more. In terms of the teaching style in the UK, it really does depend on the university that you choose. So some universities will offer small group teaching, which really is thought to accelerate your learning in a very advanced way and to challenge you academically. And these tend to be the universities at the top of the Russell Group. So for example, Cambridge and Oxford. Other universities might teach in larger groups or predominantly lecture-based with self-study to accompany that. And these tend to be the universities that have slightly bigger intakes or less faculty members per student. One of the best things to figure out about yourself before you apply to university is whether you learn best in a small group environment or whether you benefit from a larger group. And this is something that you'll be able to figure out through your own A-level work or the equivalent international qualification, and what you know about yourself, like how do you best perform and where do you prefer to learn. It is a very highly regarded degree in the UK, and it is incredibly academically rigorous. So it is definitely something that will set you up for success in a wide variety of industries. Obviously, the most straightforward route you might consider to be going into law, and in the UK or in England and Wales, we have two main routes into the profession, which are solicitor and barrister. For both of those options, you will need to complete further training, but the law degree will give you a great foundation, and it means that you don't have to do a conversion course, for example, if you came from history or politics or another course. Having a law degree will set you up in so many amazing ways for life. I can tell you personally, as someone who was previously a lawyer and now does lots of other different things, my law degree has been absolutely fundamental in understanding the world, in developing my own abilities to advocate for myself, in developing independent critical thought, and in generally just understanding the way the economy, finance, law, and politics operate. It is important to note that if your eventual ambition is to be a lawyer in another country, that you will typically need to redo your legal training according to the laws of that country, because obviously every single place has its own legal system, and so to retrain according to the legal system is probably the next best step for you. It's important to note that if you are planning to use your England and Wales law degree or your UK law degree in another country, you will generally have to retrain according to the rules of that country. For example, if you want to practice law in the US, you generally need to sit the bar exam or meet any particular local admissions requirements. However, it might be possible to practice English law in another country, and this is often possible if you work for a commercial law firm. So generally what will happen is you might be offered a position to work abroad or even in your home country, but to practice English law. It really depends on your firm. In terms of what to expect from your student experience in the UK, the best thing to do is really try and experience a little bit before you apply, if it's possible. So things like attending an open day, attending any university events, talks, lectures, presentations in the UK if you're visiting would be really helpful to give you an insight into the actual realities of student life in the UK. The other thing that's really helpful to do is to talk to other students who have previously studied in the UK or who are currently studying in the UK. And you could do that by finding people that you know, friends or family members, or you could find people online, maybe follow people on social media. You can also often follow university social media accounts, which are typically either run by students or provide a lot of student-led content, which will enable you to get a feel for the university. You might also be able to use forums like the Student Room or other online platforms that will give you an insight into how people are feeling about their university studies. In terms of studying law specifically, it is one of the most highly regarded academic degrees in the UK. In terms of law specifically in the UK, it is one of the most highly regarded degrees academically. So it's important to note that your experience will challenge you and also help you to develop a greater set of skills that you can use in life after university. The course is quite hard to get into in the UK, regardless of the university that you choose. So you should feel a real sense of pride about applying and receiving a place, and you should be excited to engage in an environment where there's a sense of intellectual curiosity and passion. And finally, it is worth mentioning that if you are dedicated to studying in the UK, but you don't feel the time is right for your undergraduate degree, or you want to do something else first, or you don't have the funding yet, you can always return to the UK and do a postgraduate degree. So we have an exceptional selection of master's degrees for law, and also law mixed with other topics like law and finance, law and business, law and criminology, for example. It's also worth considering if you are interested or open to studying remotely, if there are any opportunities to do that for law. So the Open University might be a great place to start checking out some of their law courses. If you feel you would benefit from any support, mentoring, or assistance at all in your journey to study law in the UK, definitely check out the information on screen now. We have many years of supporting students to achieve their university ambitions, and we can also assist you on your journey to study law in the UK. And as always, best of luck with your application.